Hey, good morning. Scott Luton and special guest Andrew Fink with you here on Supply Chain Now. Welcome to today's live stream. Andrew, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks, Scott. Appreciate the invite today.
You bet. We're excited to have you. Hey, Monday mornings, Murphy's Law is still alive and well. That's how it goes across the technology landscape. But we're tickled to have you here with us on the Supply Chain Buzz here today as we dive into retail, and more retail. Peak season is right around the corner. I look forward to your observations around that and how we can make peak season a bit more manageable, right?
Absolutely.
That is the name of the game. So before we do that, though, all right. So Andrew, I think, I knew I messed up. I knew how this Monday was going to play out as I was starting to make coffee this morning. And, coffee grounds, when you take them out from the previous day, if you're not really careful, that filter just gives away and they'll go everywhere. And it landed all across my counter. I knew what I was in for today. And so the hits have kept on coming. Was your Monday morning better than mine?
Yeah, it started at fine. We're good.
Okay.
It's still early.
Still early. That's right. Knock on wood. But so let's try this. I want to try to bring in my partner in crime here, Mr. Greg White, who will be hosting today's session with me. So, Greg, let's swoosh you in. Hey, Greg White, how you doing?
I never get swooshed in. That is awesome.
So it's almost like Andrew and Greg are swapping roles.
Yeah, it's great to be here, Andrew. Thanks for having me on.
Welcome, Greg. Yeah, nice to see you.
Well, we certainly, much like industry, we roll with the punches here at Supply Chain Now. And today it's all about supply chain buzz, right? We're going to be walking through some of the news that you've got to keep on your radar front and center and getting Greg and Andrew's take on some of those developments. So, but as always, Greg, we want to hear from all the folks that are joining us in the cheap seats, right?
Yes. Skyboxes, cheap seats, front row, wherever they are.
That is right. So, hey,
just
bring
that
your voice.
Here. Just that I'm here. Just that any of us are here is good enough.
Wow, that's deep.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to dive into some of the topics here in just a second. Before we do, I want to share this event, this opportunity to really do good. So Greg, as you know, we've been supporting this leveraging logistics for Ukraine with our friends at Vector Global Logistics for quite some time. We just got an update from Enrique Alvarez last week. He showed us video. So Andrew, the whole purpose here is to get vetted, identify vetted needs and work with vetted providers and get humanitarian aid, across the water in where it needs and what they need and where it needs to be. And Greg, Enrique updated us. I think he showed video footage of one of their partners loading up. I think it was 10, 11 containers.
Yeah, 10. I think it was 10 or 9. I'm not sure, but it was a lot of containers. Ground transportation donated containers at cost, which if you knew what cost was, you'd be really peeved at what you're being charged right now. All a ton of goods and labor, and on the other side in Poland and Romania and Moldova and wherever else this winds up landing, a ton of people making sure that folks get the aid that is headed their way. None of this is it's not a United Way, right? It's not a Salvation Army effort. It's not a Red Cross effort. It's just a bunch of great people getting together and doing what they can get done. And Enrique and his team coordinating this deserve all the props. And of course, all of the donors who have contributed so much to this.
Agreed. Very well said. So folks, these outcomes that Greg is sharing are all powered by these working sessions. So even if you're not in position to donate, that's okay. Come to these working sessions. You can put your Zoom on mute and you can learn some of the market intel, some of the needs, some of what's being done. But the next one is July 12th at 11 a.m. Eastern time. There's a link in the comments and team. And big thanks to Amanda, Catherine, and Chantel for helping to power production here today. Let's drop a link to this meeting in the comments. Okay, Andrew, it's really cool when the global supply chain community comes together to really do, deeds, not words type of efforts like that, and really meet a need. It reminds me how cool it is to be in the supply chain industry these days, right?
Oh man, I got to tell you, I'm fortunate to be in here now for 3-4 years, and it's an exciting time. I can tell you, and this is what a wonderful cause. Thank you
That's
for
right.
doing that.
That is right. Okay, so let's say hello to a few folks, Greg and Andrew,
Wow.
because it's not
Yeah.
just us here today. As always, it is Gary Smith from New York, our dear friend Gary
Yeah.
Smith. It's been a little while. How
Yeah.
you doing, Gary? Greg, I've seen Gary as it should be. Gary is a wonderful keynote, and for that matter, he's a great author. He submits a lot of he gets a lot of his writings picked up by various publications. So, Gary, let us know what your latest one is, and I hope to reconnect with you soon. And do we need to do a temperature check, Greg, up in New York?
Yeah, let's do, Gary. Let's hear what it's like. It might give us a little hope down here in the toasty South.
That's right. Hey, Andrew, how far is Plymouth from New York City?
Call it 3.5 hours drive.
3.5 hours.
3.5 hours drive if you don't get a ticket by the Mass State Police, which is virtually impossible.
Or call it 4. Call it 4.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, Juan, great to see you. Greg and Andrew. Juan is a supply chain leader, manufacturing plant leader. He and I took a Braves game in. I bet it's been 4 or 5 years ago now. He's also a very avid runner. He's got I bet he's got a big trophy case of like 5K wins. But Juan, hope this finds you well, and great to see you here. Brenda Allen, Kenny Bob's Foods, Greg.
Yeah.
One of our favorite contributors.
Gosh. I owe her an address. I need to do that.
Yes. And Andrew, while Greg does that, so he can get some goodies, some delicious sauces and spices. Andrew, Kenny Bob's, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Brenda, I think y'all had your formal plant opening over the weekend. I saw something on social, or maybe a new production line open. But great to have you here, and let us know, of course, from Springfield, Tennessee. Narajan from India via LinkedIn. Great to see you here today. Looking forward to your perspective. Jason Peak from Irvine, California.
Oh, man. One of my favorite In-N-Out burgers is in Irvine.
I got to tell you, I've never been. It sounds very Hollywoodish.
It's one of the old school ones. So it had drive-throughs on both sides, and you have never seen traffic like, God, is it Irvine? It is Irvine. You've never seen traffic like that street at lunchtime. It's unbelievable.
Okay. Well, hey, you sold me at In-N-Out.
Yeah,
you sold me In-N-Out. Andrew,
fresh tomatoes, right?
Are you a big fan of In-N-Out Burger, Andrew?
I haven't been in a long time. It's a very California thing when I was there, but I don't think there's anything in the Northeast.
Okay, so that's a challenge to our friends at In-N-Out. Hey, you got to put one up in Plymouth. And I think we just got. I want to say, Greg, we just got one in the Atlanta area.
No.
Okay, maybe not. That's okay.
They're not east of the Mississippi.
Okay,
yeah, I don't think they are.
Because Truett Cathy or Dan Cathy was trying to do a partnership with them to bring them east of the Mississippi, and they just couldn't work it out.
Wow.
So, yeah.
All right. Brenda says Kenny Bob's Foods is up and running full speed ahead. How about that?
Right.
Grand opening on Saturday. Brenda, that is outstanding. So congratulations from our entire team here. Old John Buglino is with us here today via LinkedIn from New Jersey, as we know, up there, not too far from where you are, Andrew. John, give us a highlight of your weekend. I love, so Greg, I don't know if you've been seeing, but John's been sharing some great observations kind of about life, especially on LinkedIn. So John, love it. Keep it coming.
You know what's odd about LinkedIn is people kind of fall in and out of your stream, and I have no idea what the logic is of someone being in or out of your stream. So you have to kind of reconnect even on the platform every once in a while.
That's right. That is right, Greg. So it's that algorithm. Andrew, everybody's trying to crack the LinkedIn and the Google algorithms these days and not having any luck, I don't think.
No.
Including Google or LinkedIn.
No, that's right.
Let's see. Windrose Design is also a big fan of Gary Smith. Completely agree. Hey, Dad, Pops is in the house. This is my dad, Don Luton, tuned in from Aiken, South Carolina via Facebook. Actually, that's my mom and dad there in the picture. Looks like they're on a beach somewhere. Well deserved. Gary
There
says
it is.
77 degrees in New York. Can we square that, Andrew? Is Gary speaking the truth?
Yeah, he is. It's going to rain today.
Yeah, here too.
Love it.
82 feels like 88 right now in lovely Atlanta metropolitan area.
Gene Pledger is tuned in from Northern Alabama. Great to see you, Gene, as always.
Probably about the same there, except about to be hit by a tornado in northern Alabama.
Bad storms coming across Alabama, huh?
Well, I don't know how bad they are, but we're going to get thunderstorms, so it will definitely hit there first.
Okay.
So, Gene, we'd appreciate a heads up.
That's right. Hey, Gary, his latest article, Coming Out of the Darkness, it's going to be published in Supply Chain Management Review in November. That's wonderful, Gary. The hits keep on coming. You got a gift for sure. Julia, great to have you back. Really enjoyed your perspective on the last couple of our live streams here. And remind everybody where you're viewing from. And then finally, John B says, we can highlight, was celebrating his mother's birthday with the whole family. It's been a few years since they all got together. That is beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, that is great. That's fantastic. It's good to see that happening.
I agree.
All over the world, really.
That's right. That is right, Greg. Okay, so Andrew and Greg, we'll be circling back to everyone in the cheap seats and trying to bring their voice and perspective in throughout today's very interactive buzz. But let's get down into some of the news stories across global business, shall we?
Let us.
All right. So let's start with this story from our friends at Retail Dive. And I'm going to tee this up, and then Greg, I want to get your take on it. And Andrew, feel free to share your observations. But for starters, analysts are projecting a very challenging second half of the year for retailers. I'm surprised. I thought the challenging phase has been started for a couple of years now, right? But as the article points out, with consumers spending a lot more money here lately on things like food and gas and other everyday items, kind of must-haves, there's not nearly as much discretionary dollars to spend. In fact, according to research by NPD, 83% of U.S. consumers plan to reduce their spending on products, on the nice-to-haves, I guess, in the next 3 to 6 months. So, Greg, looking at that path ahead, what's your take here?
Well, I think early, when I could still be sort of objective about it, early in the pandemic, I thought once everybody gets cut loose and free, they're going to travel their butts off, which my first thought was that would be bad for productivity, right? And maybe that's a portion of the labor shortage. I think the other portion is that everyone is still making money off their YouTube channel. So
7 cents a week. Yes, 7 cents a week. It goes a long way.
But I think because inflation has kind of hit that inflection point for a lot of people, and a lot of the value or a lot of the prices have hit at home at a much, much higher rate than even is being reported at as the blended rate. So a lot of staple items have been at the kind of 16% inflation rate. Scott, for family reasons, I keep track of, if we think we've got it bad here, I keep track of how the economy is in Argentina.
Right.
52%, their bank lending rate is 52% per year, and the inflation rate is 62% per year. And that's about half of what it's been at its highest just during my lifetime. So, but that's obviously incredible. And I think people are starting to feel the pinch. I've read a number of articles where people are, they still have savings because a lot of people put their, what do they call it? SNAP dollars, whatever, their stimulus money.
Yep.
They put it into savings. But they're feeling, even though they have more savings than they've had in the past, they're feeling less confident about it. And there are a lot of reasons for that. So, and of course, the other thing you have to recognize in retail, and Andrew, you're familiar with this, you deal with this every day, comp sales, right? a sales downturn is compared to the same time last year. And of course, sales were still exploding this time last year. This was when inflation, Q2 of last year was when inflation really, really started to take off. So, and that was because of rampant demand. So it's hard to keep up with those numbers.
That's right. Andrew, whether it is as, what you do at Six River Systems or just as a consumer, what different decisions have you and your family been making?
It's funny. I just got the oil bill because up in the Northeast, oil heats the
right.
house, right? And
Fuel oil, right.
the last quarter was, I think, $800 to fill the tank. And so same fill up process was $1,100. So that's $300 for, this bill that you're not going to spend in, Men's Warehouse or wherever you go shopping. Right. So, yeah,
man, it really hits home in real dollars, as the article and as Greg's speaking to as well. So I appreciate you sharing that, Andrew. I am going back to the weather a second. I'm hoping we're supposed to have a very rainy week this week in the Metro Atlanta area. And I hope so for our grass, because watering grass these days, holy cow. And my son, Ben, is our director of water management around here. And occasionally he'll leave a sprinkler on too long and it shows up in the bill quick. Andrew and Greg, let me tell you.
Yeah, I'm sure it does.
Bakar, welcome via LinkedIn. Let us know where you're tuned in from. Gene is happy to oblige us with the weather warning.
Thank you, Gene. We appreciate it.
That's right. Shelly from the Denver area. Great to see you, Shelly, via LinkedIn. Gary, man, it's like a Gary Smith fan club around here today. I love it. Gary's a great dude. Gary's the best, she says, so knowledgeable and always willing to help. Julia, she is tuned in via LinkedIn from Fort Myers, Florida.
Fort Myers. Man,
ever been to Fort Myers?
Down there. Yeah. I went sailing around the Gulf out of there a couple years back in 2020, if you can believe that. Okay. I mean, what else would you do when you can't be near anybody but get on a boat and go out to sea, right?
Andrew, any sailing in your background?
No, it usually ends up with an upside down boat. So we keep away from anything like that. Anything with a little parachute on it. So don't do it.
I love it. All right. And hey, Jose Montoya, great to have you here today. Love your live stream.
ORD. Is that Chicago or Orlando? ORL.
I think Orlando. Andrew, any guesses?
You want me to look?
Yeah, I bet ORD is Orlando. I went down there twice, and it sounds in the last 30 days, and it sounds really familiar.
That's O'Hare International in Chicago. ORL must be Orlando then.
Yeah. What do I
get those two confused? Gosh, I'm glad that's not what they put on the tickets, because I would wind up in the wrong place.
That is right.
If Jose, if he is in Chicago,
yes,
I want to know if he's going to have some Chicago style pizza or a Chicago dog, and if so, where, or would he like a recommendation? Yeah, exactly. And if no pics, it didn't happen.
That's right, Jose. Take a picture of what you've been eating on and send it our way. All right. So Andrew and Greg, moving right along, I want to get into this neat story here from Sourcing Journal. And, the NRF just had Greg and Andrew, their Supply Chain 360 event. It was, they do all, the big show, of course, NRF. Well, this is a new event for them. And by all accounts, at least initially, it was a hit. One of their speakers was the supply chain leader from Walgreens, Roxanne Flanagan, Chief Supply Chain Officer. And the Sourcing Journal kind of references what she shared at Supply Chain 360 and some of the cool things they're doing at Walgreens. She says the company has experimented on a variety of different approaches to fulfill and deliver orders. She says, as you can see in the headline there, you name it, we're doing it, end quote.
I see that in the article for sure.
Yes. So a little context, though, because some folks, maybe a couple of them, may be surprised of their overall footprint. Walgreens has 9,000 stores across the country, and that puts them, based on where their network's built out, within 5 miles of 80% of the U.S. population. So we shouldn't be surprised anymore as we're heading out wherever you're going in the summer, and you pass a Walgreens and you pass a Walgreens. I mean, they've really strategically built out their network there. Some of the things they've been doing, Andrew and Greg, new partnerships with third-party delivery apps like Instacart, one of Amanda's favorites, DoorDash, and Postmates. Like many retailers, Walgreens has used stores to fulfill orders, right? We've seen a lot of that in the last couple of years. They've added 4 micro fulfillment centers to their network. And lately, they've been experimenting with drone delivery. I believe, Greg, as the article mentioned, they've got about 100,000 customers that are able to use drone delivery as they're piloting and getting feedback around how that's working. Roxanne says supply chain leaders should focus more on where consumers are going next. Well, how are they evolving? Not what consumers are expecting now, right? Not where they are. It's kind of like that. Was it a Wayne Gretzky?
Yeah, the hockey. Yeah.
Quote. Yeah,
Where
Andrew.
the bucket is going. Yeah.
Yes. Right. And I love this quote because she's kind of referring to where things are headed rather than where they are now to some degree. She says, quote, "Are you really going to have a milkshake delivered or that $15 sandwich?" And I think that is an interesting comment, and we'll see how some of these delivery services and apps are going to play out. So, Greg, your take on what you're seeing at Walgreens or the article or heck, even the home run event, evidently that was Supply Chain 360.
Yeah, all of that. I mean, I think, of course, anything that NRF does is high quality. Every retailer should attend. It's usually free for retailers, thanks to their service providers who sponsor these kind of events. And it's top notch. Obviously, Walgreens, one of the biggest stores, not just in the United States, but in the world, because they've combined with Boots the Chemist from the UK to make a much, much bigger alliance. And I mean, I don't know what it's like up where you are, Andrew, but I know when I'm at a street corner, when I see a Walgreens. So I thought there were 9,000 in Atlanta, not
like Starbucks. Yeah, mine's 3.8 miles away. So
yeah, and if there's not a Walgreens, there's a CVS or the ones that keep going to prison. The Rite Aid, no longer. But anyway, I think, look, this is a really high quality organization. They have focused on, but even before you called it supply chain for a long time, and they've done a great amount of work. Really interesting that they're trying all these things. I'd be interested to learn a little bit more about which they're seeing as sustainable, feasible, continually feasible, because it's funny now that things have slowed down from a delivery standpoint, how much pain people are expressing about these delivery services and how much they cut in to the gross margin and how much more they cost, as she said, how much more they cost the consumer, right?
That's right. So Andrew, your take on some of the experimentation and some of the successes they're having over at Walgreens.
Yeah, and without saying too much, they're a great partner, and I've experienced working with them in the past, and I really appreciate how they are looking at different technologies to automate their facilities. They're really doing everything they can to get the product to you as fast as possible, and I think as reasonable as possible, right?
Yes, agreed.
I've never failed to find a whatchamacallit in a Walgreens. Not kidding.
Yeah.
No, that's not the footstep item they want, but it gets me in the store.
Yeah, I don't know what the margin is on a whatchamacallit, but yeah.
Right.
It's got to be good.
Yeah.
So, a couple quick comments here. Jose is heading to Savannah later this week from Chicago after he gets his fill of pizza from Giordano's. So
Giordano's, okay.
Jose, we're going to have to hook up soon. I'm sure you're going to connect with Bill Sienkiewicz down in Savannah, one of the great people in the industry. Tony Sciarrotta, our dear friend from the Reverse Logistics Association, loved that NRF includes returns and reverse logistics. That's an important topic to focus on. And Kathy Robertson was on those panels. Tony, great call out.
Very good.
And Greg and Andrew, I know a certain digital media platform that never leaves out the reverse logistics and returns sector, right, Greg?
I can't imagine who that could be, Scott Luton.
Well, we have been very fortunate and have really enjoyed partnering with Tony and the RLA for several years as focusing on that aspect of global business that really, as Tony calls it, he calls it the dark side of supply chain because of lack of visibility and recognition. And that's a great call out.
I think it's important for folks to recognize, I've always said the supply chain begins and ends with the consumer. And I think that you have to recognize, and I think one of Tony's best philosophies is figure out how to avoid it being returned. Right.
Yes.
Right. If we don't have reverse logistics, Tony has done his job. He's literally a man trying to work himself out of a job. So I think that's bold. I mean, it's a bold and honorable thing he's doing.
Agree. The pride of Detroit right there. All right, Andrew, I think you were going to comment on that sector, that reverse logistics side.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Again, having at least the last 7-8 months, I've been to about 30 sites of my own, and just you can see the sites that are having trouble with it, and just where it bogs down on what should be the better part of their process and getting this stuff out the door to you, right? So they're worried about stuff coming back in. So I've seen it bad.
Yep, agreed. Lots of opportunity in that space in general, and I appreciate what Tony and RLA has been doing to help facilitate information and intelligence and innovative practices. Okay, so Greg and Andrew, Andrew, I don't think I shared. So Andrew, you serve as Director of Customer Success with Six River Systems, right? And we've enjoyed these chats. I think we've had a member of your team join us about once a month here, nice. Usually for the buzz, and you're talking about all kinds of different things across the industry. Before we get to talking more retail by the buggy load, Greg, Andrew, did y'all know that today is National Bingo Day?
I had no idea.
Okay. Have you ever won anything significant via the game of bingo?
I don't think I've played bingo since second grade. So
I used to work at a bingo hall. Just saying.
What,
Andrew?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah.
Where at? What part of the country?
It was like a civic center in Poughkeepsie, New York, or something. Yeah.
Did you say it was a terrible experience?
Tell us about that.
It's awful. It's good stories after. No.
Are there cheaters? I mean, do people cheat?
Cheaters, smokers, you name it. It was going on.
Oh yeah, of course.
Oh man,
it was awful.
Angry people.
Yeah. Mostly old. Yeah.
Yeah, I think of Better Call Saul whenever I see. If you've ever watched Better Call Saul,
it's about that level. Yeah.
Is it really? Oh, that's awesome.
Whenever I hear the word bingo, I think of Cousin Eddie from Christmas Vacation, when there's that moment, and I can't remember what he's responding to right this moment, but he goes, bingo, just like that during the middle of that movie. Because I've never won anything at the game bingo ever. Yeah. So Andrew, question for you. If not bingo, clearly you're associating some bad experiences with the game bingo. What was one of your favorite games as a kid?
Yeah, so I have a love-hate relationship with Monopoly.
Okay.
It was great, and then it was strategic. And I love that sort of process, but it was so long. So I think if I could find a shorter way to play Monopoly where it wasn't like a day,
yeah,
I'd probably enjoy it more.
Okay, so Monopoly, Greg.
Well, first I got some tips for you. So you can probably end the game in about 4 hours if you do it this way, but I don't want to put that out there online. So I'll let you know after the show. Gosh, I mean, board games I am awful at. I remember there was a electronic game in the 80s called Simon, where you had to like remember beep 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 beep.
Yeah,
I loved that, and I was okay at that. But yeah, I played a lot of outdoor games when I was a kid, and honestly, we're not kind of board game people very much. A lot of trivia and stuff like that. What about you, Scott?
Huge trivia fan. Huge trivia. I've got some great stories that maybe we'll publish when I'm dead and gone, Andrew and Greg, about some.
Are you really good at, do you know a lot of trivia?
I know yes. I am I'm very good at trivial factoids that you really don't need to know, because a lot of if you've got a broad a knowledge base, you're really well suited for trivia. And you get me and Amanda together. We've been known to take some bar prizes from those trivia games. Plus, I'm a big fan of trivia games. Trivial Pursuit was always one of our favorites. But of course, video games, they're in a different category. But Nintendo and Sega Genesis, the original Nintendo, and of course the Sega Genesis, that was being a Gen X or 80s child, those were like inseparable from my childhood.
I actually own a Galaga machine, so
nice.
Actually,
Great.
I don't own it. My wife owns it. I gave it to her as a gift for Christmas.
Lucas chiming in here. Nice.
You're right, Andrew. That's right. All right. So, oh man, wait a second.
That's what I mean.
That's what you're referring to, Andrew. First off, Russ says when Clark goes down the hill on a sled into the store, that's when Cousin Eddie says, "Bingo, Russ. Thank you, my man. Thank you for saving me."
Man, that is impressive.
It is, isn't it?
Is that the actual Russ? No eating in the car, kids. Quiet down, Russ. No.
That's the Russ Thorne. Gene Pledger, how to make your grandmother curse? Bingo. Sorry, my favorite joke. How about that? And Andrew, maybe you can speak from experience as from those halls. Scott, this is Mom. Scott's great at trivia. Don't let him fool you.
Nice.
Okay, Mom, you're ruining my opportunity to make some money with trivia.
See, he's trying to sandbag us, Mom.
Yes.
So yeah,
come on, Mom.
He's a hustler. So he's a trivia hustler, Andrew.
Right. Man,
noted.
My folks are out me. Goodness gracious. Okay. Well, let's shift gears here. As much as I would love to talk all kinds of reindeer games across the ecosystem, Andrew, you've got some really valuable expertise, and I think you've been spending a lot of time at 30 sites coast to coast, and we're going to dive into that a bit. But I want to start, Greg and Andrew, with this article from our friends at Logistics Management, and it speaks to a slight May decline here in the U.S. when it comes to retail sales. Kind of the starting point of what we were talking about earlier, right? The second half of the year is going to be a challenging time for retailers. So, Andrew, when it comes to the retail environment here in the U.S., give us some of your observations.
Obviously, I'm seeing it from the fulfillment side. So here are some things that I felt in discussions with the various customers that we have.
Yep.
One, the forecasting uncertainty. So, hey, May dropped. What's going to happen now, right? What's the next 6 months look like? So there's a lot of uncertainty. And so a lot of our customers provide forecasts on the next 6 months, and those aren't as accurate as they need to be because of the uncertainty. So that's one. The second piece is the labor rates going up, right? So we've got inflation, we've got sales dropping, and now we've got this sort of labor pressure of, not only finding labor, but also the rate pressure. Folks want to pay more money. Otherwise, I'm not going to come work for you, right? And so the rates are going up, and so they're feeling that. I know in my experience, the last year and a half, 2 years, the average rate we use has gone up $4 an hour. So
wow,
it's pretty significant when you start adding the number of folks that work at these DCs, right?
Wow.
And then the third piece I'd say is, we bought based on history over the last 2 years. Things got stuck on the boats, and then all of a sudden we've got this glut of inventory. So I just visited 2 sites last week, and one's got 800,000 units too much in the warehouse. And so they're looking for ways to, get them out the door or get them to the right people. So those are the 3 things that I'm seeing over the last 6 months.
Greg, comment on what you heard there. One of those things or just in general.
Yeah, it's hard to be as in the market as Andrew is when his company provides the fulfillment for a lot of these retail organizations. But I mean, I can tell you what I've read, and I can tell you what I am seeing and hearing on the street from fellow consumers, and that is a great deal of concern. And obviously, like we talked about earlier, high numbers to hit for last year, so they will almost certainly turn down. It is, even the Fed's rhetoric on recession has changed. Now it's looking like a 3/4 point rate change in the next month, and that's because they're trying to create a soft landing. A soft landing is a euphemism for a little recession, whereas before, just weeks ago, they were saying no recession necessary, right? So unquestionably, the economy is retracting. Let me disclaim that with I am not an economist, but I'm as accurate as they are. So
nice.
Very true. Very true.
I think we're going to continue to see sales decline. It's unquestionable, and I think that will also, Andrew, I don't know what you've seen, but I think that will turn the tide in terms of labor as people's savings come down. Layoffs are becoming manifest in many industries.
Right.
I mean, in technology, which is usually a leader in everything but rational spending. The tide has completely actually turned months ago towards trying to make a profit instead of growing at any cost. And over 21,000 layoffs in startups, the startups tracked by Crunchbase this year. So,
wow.
I think we're going to see some things change in terms of employment.
Yep.
And people will take jobs that now make 15 or 20 bucks an hour lest they starve, right?
Yep. So, Andrew, I'll give you a chance to one final comment here, and I want to move into forecasting and some of what you're picking up from your site visits. Last comment, Andrew.
No, I'm totally agreement with what Greg was saying. I definitely feel, even from new opportunities for 6RS, I'm feeling retailers sort of hold back on technology purchase decisions as well because there's too much uncertainty. So totally with you.
So speaking of uncertainty,
can I just?
Yeah, Greg, please.
That is so counterintuitive. I mean, it has always happened in the past, Andrew, and I know you're new to this industry, somewhat new by mine and Scott's standards, right?
You bet.
But that's the irony that has always concerned me, is that when things get tough and when they ought to be getting more efficient, retailers instead hold back. And a lot of that is a function of the fact that their margins are very tight, right? Manufacturers make all the money in supply chain. They make double-digit net margins, whereas a retailer makes kind of 3 to 5%, and a distributor is lucky if they make 3%. So it's ironic and but understandable, considering the tight margin on profit that retailers run on. But at the same time, they take a huge risk in inventory and in labor. And I would think that if anything taught us to build for the future, it would have been this pandemic. But there are also a ton of cash poor retailers out there that are on the edge. There's whole articles with whole lists of companies that analysts think will go bankrupt or have significant financial difficulties in the next few months.
I agree with you.
So talk about difficulty then. I'll pick up there because forecasting's never been easy, ever. Yeah. And then the last couple of years have happened. Of course, despite all the technological gains, it's still a very difficult thing to get it right or even get it accurate or even semi-accurate. So, Andrew, I want to ask you, what are you seeing when it comes to forecasting, some of your observations, and maybe it's some of the things you're picking up as you're out to sites across the country. What are you seeing out there?
It's interesting. We sent out notes, I think in March, April, about peak, 6 months away. We're already forecasting on it, and we're also start planning on it. A lot of great responses from our customers, but so many said they're not going to get their forecast this year until probably mid Q3, which, from a planning perspective is challenging. If you want to get the right things to the right sites to make sure they can scale and hit their volume increases in October, November, December, that's late. And so what we're feeling is that the estimates aren't accurate. At least for the first few months this year, they haven't been, and then they're delayed. And so it's going to impact our customers' ability to scale quickly. So that's a concern, obviously, from a forecasting perspective.
Yeah, that ripple effect, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've seen a lot. Let's make sure everyone's on the same page with acronyms around here. So when we talk about AMR, we're talking about autonomous mobile robots. So despite some of the challenges you're pointing out, Andrew, here as we're creeping very quickly, creeping is not the word for it. We're fast and furiously getting closer and closer to peak. How have you seen companies leverage AMRs to make for a more manageable peak season?
So for us, at least that's all I can go by. We have the ability to sort of scale up for short periods of time. So we can add AMRs to a facility as they add labor for peak, and then we can pull them back at the end of December, wherever their peak is. In some cases, like we've had a customer where their peak was March and April. So we brought in AMRs to support that additional volume and additional labor. We also got some really cool simulation tools that allow us to take sort of forecasts and then come back and say, hey, we think you're going to need X amount of additional AMRs in order to support your additional shift, your additional labor, et cetera. To me, the ability to, for whoever it is, the ability to sort of ramp up quickly and add some capacity to support your throughput, to me, that's the best thing we can do here.
That scale, that dynamism. Am I making up a word here, Greg?
Yeah.
Dynamism.
Yeah, thank you very much. So there's big value there, right? Big value there. Greg, your thoughts?
Yeah, I love that ability. Frankly, I think that is probably the future for at least remote fulfillment, or for e-com fulfillment, because it has to be so precise, it has to be so fast, and it has to be so responsive. You literally cannot hire people fast enough, especially in this market, where you could just go order 20 or 30 chucks and here they come, a whole truckload of chucks. I love it.
Well, and a lot of our sites are using the technology, the AMRs, as sort of recruiting for associates. They're saying, hey, this is really cool. In one of our facilities, they actually have a logo outside the facility. It's a woodchuck. We call our AMRs Chuck. So they actually have a whole brand around it, and they actually use it in their recruiting because it's easier on the associates. It's more fun, right? It's very visual. You're following an AMR around. So it's kind of a cool way to recruit as well.
I think you hit on something really key here. When you say it makes it easy on associates, I think that is critical. Not only do team members, especially in these high pressure environments, have all the pressure of getting stuff done, right? GSD, but they're humans. They got all the other pressures of navigating through these times too. So it's a no-brainer. Whether it's through technology like you're describing or just in general, how can we make it easy on these highly valued team members, right?
Agreed.
Okay, Greg, I know you're about you want to weigh in here or something.
Maverick, has anyone watched Top Gun, the new Top Gun yet? I've watched it twice already.
I need to go see it. I need to go.
You do need to go see it. Because it is a lot about that transition from, drones can't do it all, even in the military, even with their multi-trillion-dollar budgets. Drones can't do it all. I think there's a lot of alignment. I thought about this, about cobots and things like that, when watching that movie, only for a split second, honestly. Because
I was about to say
it is the coolest movie ever made.
Seriously, that's what everybody says. It's crazy,
but it's very real, very real.
To be fair, since we're talking about movies for a second, I can't wait to see the Elvis movie. I think it's 2.5 hours long, and evidently it was a 4-hour movie. They cut it down to 2.5 hours, but looks like Hollywood may be finally back between Top Gun and this Elvis, which is big early returns. But Greg, back to the conversation here with Andrew. You said it was kind of a bit about that conversion from the 100%.
I think we have to acknowledge that, and it's not cool for Andrew to say this, but I think we have to, as objective observers, to realize that people are staying away from fulfillment jobs in droves.
Right.
They don't want those jobs. Amazon has been having this problem for nigh on a decade, and as have others who've gone heavily into e-commerce. Those are dark, dirty, dangerous jobs, right? And someone else also added dull. In some cases, right? But I think this makes the job more technological. It also allows the retailers to have some incredible reliability in case they can't hire.
Right.
And I think that the thing that we used to do back when our parents were working and early, when us Gen Xers were working, we used to apologize for automation taking people's jobs. But the fact is, people don't want these jobs in a lot of cases. So we're not taking jobs away from anybody by implementing automation. We're actually trying to stabilize and create resiliency in the supply chain by doing the necessary work that is not otherwise getting done.
Yep. Andrew, you were going to say something?
Sorry, Scott. It is an issue in perception when we go to new customers, right? These are going to take my job. And so some of what we deal with when we walk into new sites, we're dealing with sort of changing that perception, right? This is about working with you,
Yep.
not taking your job. It's going to make your job easier, right? You walk with it, and the quality should be better. It takes you hours to train, not weeks to train. So it should make your life easier. We're not trying to take a job away.
It's also like having a buddy at work, by the way. If you've ever walked around with one of these things, it really is. Right?
The associates name them, which is kind of fun. So they actually have a naming contest, and you'd be surprised at some of the names. It's really kind of funny. I'll have to send you some.
So can you set it up so you work with the same chuck every day?
No, that's cool. part of the deal is you go to the next one that's available, and the other one goes back and it goes to pack out.
Right,
so it's kind of you avoid you having to go walk around with it, right? The whole
and then you don't become too attached, Andrew.
Right.
Well, and there's some really cool videos of the Chuck experience. You'll have to check it out at Six River Systems site. But really quick, let me share a couple of quick comments, and then I want to level set Andrew with the maybe two people as part of our viewing audience that may be unfamiliar with Six River Systems. First off, Julia says simulation is always useful before introducing new technologies and tools.
Amen.
Completely agree with that. Brenda is a big fan not only of Top Gun, but Elvis as well. Elvis,
and that's impressive. Don't you imagine her like working till 9 o'clock at night and going to the late movie? I mean, they have to be busting it.
That's right. Vahab, good to see you here today via LinkedIn. Let us know where you're tuned in from, and let us know what your take is on our conversation.
Let us know who took that profile pic too. That
is a good looking profile pic.
Yeah, I'm trying to think who he looks like.
A movie star.
Yeah, the guy from Narcos. I cannot remember his name.
All right, so Andrew, for the handful of folks that may be unfamiliar with Six River Systems, tell us about what y'all do in a nutshell.
It's funny in prepping for this. I was trying to think of the way to say that, like when I'm talking to my mom, because she has no idea what I do. So I'm like, what do you do? So right. So when you go and order something online, Mom, at Under Armour or Nike, there's all these providers that are working behind the scenes to make sure they get you that product. And so what we're doing is automating those warehouses to get that product to you faster, cheaper, easier, etc. We happen to use AMRs, but we also align with the warehouse management system so that the two talk together, and basically the system actually works within the warehouse from all the components within wall to wall. So picking, pack out, shipping, all the things that are required to get you that Under Armour shirt.
Yep.
So I would try to say it right, but she still has no idea.
So we talked to one of your colleagues, and we've talked to so many I can't recall who it was, but when they loaded in, I think it's the situation you were talking about back in March or April, all these extra chucks, they just roll them in. It's just
unbox them.
Yeah. Basically unbox them. It's a few minutes or an hour, right, to get connected to the system. Yeah. And then off they go. They're part of the team. Yeah. I mean, the training is nada for the chucks, and then they assist the workers on the floor, right? That is
they go right back and go out there with the fleet and support them. Yeah, well, I had one comment I forgot to mention earlier is when I was at a site in Ontario, California. The site fulfills for Disney.
Yep.
And the GM of that site actually has figured out the best way to get the constraints they have right around labor and associates. They recruit through a state-based organization that has folks on the autism spectrum, very visual technology. And so he says they're the most loyal group he's got, and they recruit there to add to their workforce. And they're actually becoming some of the most loyal team members that they have because of the sort of visual nature of the training. Kind of interesting.
Wow.
I love that too. I mean, very precise. I mean, there, depending on where you are on that spectrum, I don't know where you guys are, but I actually rate on that spectrum.
A lot of us do.
Yeah. Right. But it, depending on where you are, man, they are so precise. You can just be right. Just that kind of precision, which is required in fulfillment, is perfect. I'm glad that we are including people with their gifts. I was reading an article the other day about think of what those gifts are, not what those limitations are, and what are the kind of jobs that you can apply.
Well said. Well said. Creating opportunities for all. Great point there. Okay. A couple quick comments here. Brenda says they don't work on Sunday. So Sunday is movie day.
There we go.
And Steve, welcome in from Atlanta. And appreciate that feedback. I always enjoy and learn something from these conversations, and great to have you here today. Let us know what your take is on these things we're talking about. All right, so moving right along, I want to pull up this visual here. So Greg and I had a blast with a couple of your colleagues, Andrew, John, and Will from the Six River Systems team.
Yeah, they're on my team, actually. I love them. They're great.
Oh, great.
They are like natural. We're talking Hollywood earlier. They just rolled in, and it's like they were just having a conversation, because our aim, as always, is we're sitting around, a lunch table, breakfast table, dinner table, your pick, and just being real and breaking bread and talking industry. I think I got that metaphor right, Greg. If it is indeed a metaphor, I always get metaphors and similes confused. But John and Will, and just how natural and authentic and fun as they were sharing their expertise around, how to solve 3 common peak challenges. Greg, did you? Well, I know you did. How much did you enjoy the webinar with John and Will?
Well, we've been talking about how difficult it is to forecast, right? And I think it shows how far ahead of the game Six River is to be talking about how to get ready for peak early in the year, right? Because I don't know that every consumer knows how early some retailers have to decide on what goods in what colors and sizes and quantities that they need in order to get them here for Christmas.
Right.
And it is months and months. So getting ahead and getting companies prepared for that, I think, was incredibly visionary, frankly.
Agreed. Now, Andrew, we may have chatted a little bit about music and woven in a bunch of Led Zepp references. Nice. But hey, you got to have fun as you're getting work done, right?
Yeah.
So, folks, if you missed this webinar, this how to solve 3 common peak challenges, we're going to drop the comment. You can see the replay. You got to register for it, but you can see the replay. That's already been dropped in the comments. Y'all check it out and let us know along those conversation lines from the webinar some of your favorite Led Zepp songs.
Nice.
Okay, so Andrew and Greg. Andrew, great to have you here today. Really have enjoyed rubbing elbows with you. We didn't get a chance to talk about your beloved Patriots. Greg's a big Chiefs fan. That's why I didn't bring it up until just a few minutes left. But Andrew, your bold prediction for the Patriots this coming football season.
Oh, I'm going to get hate mail. I think
you're a Patriots fan. Of course, you're going to get hate mail.
9-8 is what I'm saying.
Ooh, okay. You mean you're going to get hate mail from your fellow fans?
Maybe 10-7.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah.
And Greg, your bold prediction and brief prediction for the Chiefs.
12-5.
Okay.
I think probably 12-5. Yeah, I mean, we're learning a whole new group of offensive players. Yeah. So
I get that.
Okay. All right, man. We'll see what happens. One bold or maybe not so bold prediction is the Falcons are going to stink here in 2022. They got a couple years to get things turned.
Is that really true? Are they going to be that bad?
We'll have to get Clay's take or Amanda's take or maybe Catherine. I know
it does seem like it, but I don't follow them closely enough to.
Chantel's a big Rams fan, so they've been high on life here lately. But the Falcons have so many needs, right? And so many limitations with what they call the salary cap. It might be a couple of years before they're able to turn around and be more competitive. As Andrew said pre-show, they got to have a quarterback for sure.
Yes.
But all right. And Amanda says Falcons equal terrible. And so she's putting out math equations there. All right. So Andrew, let's make sure folks, you can check out that webinar with Greg, John, and Will, and I. Link is in the chat. But Andrew, how can folks connect with you and the Six River Systems team?
Great question. So for Six River, obviously we've got on both Twitter and LinkedIn. It's 6 River Systems. Feel free to connect. It's always a great way. They pretty good LinkedIn and Twitter feeds. For me, LinkedIn, Andrew Fink, AN Fink, I think is what it ends up being. Feel free to connect. Would love to get more active in this group as well.
Wonderful. Outstanding conversation. And you can talk AMRs, retail, site visits, Patriots, maybe a little bit of Boston Red Sox chat, maybe some cool places to eat up in Massachusetts, you name it. So make sure y'all connect with Andrew Fink with Six.
Even bingo.
Oh, there's some good stories.
Well, I got just one final question. To work in a bingo hall, did you have to wear one of those ruffled shirts that Jerry Seinfeld hated?
No. The pirate
No?
shirt? No, I didn't have to wear the pirate shirt. No.
Oh, that's good.
So, Greg, quite the conversation here today. Murphy's Law tried to bite us on the front end, but we successfully navigated it, partially due to our team and Andrew Fink, always rolling with the punches. So we appreciate that, Andrew. So, Greg, if you had one takeaway from what Andrew shared here today, your favorite part of the conversation, not related to Top Gun or Elvis, what would that be?
Oh, golly. Well, if you're going to give me that limitation. No, I would say forecasting is hard. That is the most important thing to think about. And for many years in supply chain, we have focused on the forecast, which is 100% of the time wrong in some method, right? And what we need to start to focus on is how do we respond to the unexpected in the supply chain, and what gives us the agility to do so. And I think, what Andrew talked about, and we've talked about before with these folks at Six River, is the agility that you get from saying, hey, it's this time, it's our peak time of year. We need some extra hands, virtual hands, right? And you can plug them right in. So I think recognizing that the forecast is not your supply chain and that you have to build resiliency into it, even aside from that.
Well said.
Yeah.
Well said. And despite all the challenging times we've been through and clearly what we're coming, what lies ahead, there's a lot of new, innovative, and emerging solutions out there to help you navigate. So y'all check that out. Okay, folks, really have enjoyed the Buzz conversation here today. Be sure to connect with Andrew Fink and the Six River Systems team. Be sure to connect with Greg or follow him on LinkedIn in particular, where you're going to see supply chain commentary every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And as you know, with Greg, he brings Frank by the truckload. And Frank is not a relative to Chuck. I mean, frankness and the truth by the truckload. He tells it like it is. So make sure y'all connect with him there. But whatever you do, most importantly, whatever you do, hey, it's all about deeds, not words. Join us for that Leveraging Logistics for Ukraine meeting in July. Love for you to be, if nothing else, more informed on what's going on. Take those steps as supply chain leaders. Take those steps that are going to help your associates navigate through their own journey much more easier and gives them new opportunities. All you get to do all of that, you got to take that bold action. So Scott Luton and Greg White and our entire team here at Supply Chain Now challenging you, our listener, to do good, to give forward, and to be the change that's needed. And on that note, we'll see you next time right back here on Supply Chain Now. Thanks, everybody.
Bye, folks. Thanks, guys.